Hey, welcome back to another episode of Mixing a Prog Album Live, where we are getting pretty near to finished with AfterWinter's second album, Boundless. Today is episode 31, and we are going to be continuing our work on track 9, which is called Glass House. We made some pretty good progress on it last time, so let's see how close we can get this thing to finished today. Alright, so on the Logic screen here, we are looking at the session for Glass House. Oh, yes, okay. I was trying to remember exactly where we were. We had just turned on the parallel compression, and we're getting ready to do a listen through of the song so that we can see where the peak meter for the drums master is, so that we can adjust those, make sure that it's at -7, and then we can turn on our Black Salt audio drum bus. So we need to do a listen through front to back of the whole thing, and we need to keep an eye on this. This is the other thing here too, is that I want to know where is the highest peak. That way we don't have to do another full listen through after we've adjusted. We can just go to where we already know the highest peak is. So we're going to keep an eye on this box right here, see where, hopefully it's going to hit around -4, because that's where most of the other ones have hit. So that's kind of where I'm hoping, is that we'll get right around in there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and give this thing a play.
Glass house society, home here in this glass house community. See all of my neighbors live just like me, raised here in this pretentious industry, too arrogant to take responsibility. Not just one to blame.
Right on. Okay, so our drum bus peaked at 3.7, and it actually happened in the intro. So pretty close to the beginning. We got pretty much to 4. So let's go ahead and turn everything down by 3, which is where we usually end up going. Yep. And then we can just check the intro again with our Blacksall Audio drum bus on, because we know we're peaking just barely above 7 now. It should be at 6.7 now, so we should be able to trim off that little bit of extra with the output knob here.
To take responsibility.
Got it. Okay. There we go. So that should put the drums right at -7, which is right where we want to be. Awesome. Okay, so now that our drums are, at least at the moment, where we want them, we now need to move off into checking all of the rest of the things that we have for the rest of the song, checking to make sure all of our compressors and multipressors and EQs and all that are doing what we want them to do, and turning our all of the effects on our master buses back on, again, checking each one to make sure it's doing what we want to do. So checking the bass here first. We're going to start off with this compressor where we ought to be seeing somewhere around -5 decibels of compression.
Waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and it
No hiding.
Nice. Also checking to make sure that if I make any adjustments that our level matching is the same. Yep, I think we usually check to make sure this cut right here is actually doing something positive.
Secrets.
not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Despising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know it would only take a stone to break us all. Born into a glass house society.
Happy with my rock, destroying others' reputation. See, I'm at the top of a tower only I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left, or looking right.
Okay, yep, good with that. Real fast, before I forget, we of course always want to try and maintain a decent context with the mix that we're hearing around everything. So if there's anything that's jumping out at us that's really glaringly like, oh man, we're going to have to fix that, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and, regardless of where you are in the process, go ahead and look at it. One of the things that's kind of hitting me like that right now is the vocal reverb on the sections where those special vocals are singing on their own. We definitely want less reverb. We want that to be a little drier, a little more in your face, rather than roomy sounding. So let's get that taken care of now.
Neighbors live just like me, raised here in this pretentious industry. Too arrogant to take responsibility.
There we go. So turning it clear down to -30. Just the vocal reverb. Yeah, and those lower ones are harder to get right on. And then we need to make sure that in this tiny little area in this vocal break between the first chorus and the second verse that we again turn it down.
Born into a glass house society.
Happy with my rock, destroying others' reputation. See, I'm at the top of a tower.
Yes, a couple of other adjustments I want to make, I think. I want to turn Eli's vocal up a little more. I want to turn Dad's vocal down just a hair. And then also, in the final chorus where all these vocals come back, my vocal and Dad's vocal are both way louder than they are at other points in the song. So let's get both of those turned down a bit. Okay, yeah, I think that's a lot more appropriate. It's still not perfect, but it's at least not like distractingly different than everywhere else. Okay, so now that we've got a couple of distractions out of the way, let's jump back to where we actually were in the sound detail. Okay, so we need to check the stuff on the rhythm guitars now. So we need to check the multipressors on James's guitar and my guitar. Yeah, there should be plenty of palm muting in the verses.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering bad news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same.
Yep, okay, good with all that. James has got a center rhythm in this song too, right there near the ending. Let's go ahead and check that. Yep, just a short little thing. Okay, and then on our Rhythm Guitars Master Bus, we've got an additional multipressor looking at all 4 ranges.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering bad news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Disguising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know it would only take a stone to break us all. Born into a glass house society.
Happy with
Nice. Okay, yes, so we got a whole line full of stuff in the rhythm guitars turned on there and also turned them up just a little bit. All of this stuff on the master bus really helps kind of clean the rhythm guitars up so that we can push them a little more. They become a lot less kind of boomy and taking up unnecessary space. Okay, looking at the pianos, I think I'm good with all the stuff that's actually on them. The EQ, compression, saturation is fine. The organ is the same effect that we had on Boundless there. Yep, that's normal. So let's take a look at our multipressor. We'll go ahead and take a look at it during a chorus.
Right there, walls and cast them down, broken into pieces, just dust on the ground, disguising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know it would only take a stone to break us all. Born into a glass house society.
Happy with my rock.
Break their walls and cast them down, broken into pieces, just dust on the ground, disguised.
Okay, so a little bit of change on the piano's EQ there at the end, giving them just a tiny bit more high end so that they can poke through the mix a little better. Okay, we've also got strings here. Yep, normal compression, and the channel EQ is there. Ah, Cody's here even though he's at work. Yes, yep, no worries there. Totally understand that. What's going on the phone? I'm blowing up over here. Okay, so we now need to move over into the orchestra so that we can check out. I know the intro is going to be something that we're definitely going to have to work on. Not the vocal thing. Well, the vocal thing too, but the actual instrumentation in the intro has bothered me even clear back as the tracking phase. There's just something about it is not sitting right, and I think it's just an EQ thing. But we're definitely going to have to look at it. But let's take a careful look at the orchestra stuff kind of with that in mind. Because the orchestra is going to fill up a lot of the space in that intro.
Their walls and cast them down, broken into pieces, just dust on the ground, disguising our own fragile home. Hope they
so yep, we got in the compressor there, we switched it over to the Studio VCA with soft distortion, which always gives the strings a nice kind of rounder bottom end, and that should help that intro for sure. We'll be taking a really close look at it under a microscope when we get to volume detail. But I think we've set ourselves up well. Okay, so lead vocals. We've got our normal stuff here, the virtual mix rack doing all the normal stuff, plus our channel EQs. I do have a feeling that the channel EQs will need to change a little bit when we get to the mid-range bandpass listen. Majenica's vocals seem a little bit more low-mid than normal, I feel like. So we're going to have to take a look at that. But I think everything that's on there at the moment is fine. Let's go ahead and turn on our de-essing and take a look at the multipressor. Yeah, let's take a look at it in the verse. We're going to need to check a verse and a chorus, I think.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering that news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Disguising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know.
Okay, I think we got it there. Okay, and then we've got our channel EQ taken just a little bit out at 300 and boosting a little at 4,000.
Waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering that news.
Yo, that cut at 300 definitely already helped Majenica's kind of like low-mid thing there, just because that verse is a little lower in her register. Okay, moving on, all of our excuse me, our background vocals have the normal stuff, the edge vocal preset on the compressor, as well as a high pass on the channel EQ, which is dependent on which one of us it is. In this song, BG1 is Majenica, and BG2 is me. It's kind of like primarily those chorus harmonies. There's some other stuff in there too. Moving all these compressors up just kind of while I talk. It doesn't actually make a difference which slot they're in. In this particular case, it doesn't matter. But okay, so for our background vocal master, we've got de-essing. We'll check a multi-pressor here during the chorus.
Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Disguising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know. It would only take a stone to break us all. Born into a glass house society.
Happy with my
Pieces, just dust on the ground.
Okay, yep, good with the compressor. And of course, we got a channel EQ just taking a tiny little bit out at 300, helping with clarity.
Pieces, just dust on the ground. Disguising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know. It would only take a stone to
checking something real fast there. It's kind of neat to hear just the high harmony and the low harmony together like that without the melody in the middle of them.
Dust on the ground, disguising our own fragile home. Oh, they don't know it would only take a stone to break us all.
That's pretty neat. I like it. Okay, now we've got our special vocals here. So the intro vocal and the thing that happens there right after the first chorus, and the kind of counterpoint things that start happening in the second chorus. Now, I think I want to virtual mix rack everybody's vocals in this one. So at the moment, mine are... Actually, I forgot we did some pretty drastic EQ work to a couple of these to make them sit. Let me listen to this section by itself again. They might be fine as is, actually.
Born into a glass house society, home here in this glass house community. See all of my neighbors live just like me, raised here in this pretentious industry, too arrogant to take responsibility.
Yeah, you know what? I think they're fine. I don't think we need to do the virtual mix rack on each person. Let's also kill the echo, the vocal echo in that. It's not coming through very much, but I heard it once, and I didn't like it the one time I heard it, so let's just take it out. Not necessary. Okay, so on their master bus then, we have kind of the same stuff going on as the background vocals. So we've got de-essing, we've got multi-pression, regular compression, and a channel EQ that we're going to leave off for now until we do our mid-range bandpass.
Born into a glass house society, home here in this glass house community. See all of my neighbors live just like me, raised here in this pretentious industry, too arrogant to take responsibility.
Okay, let's check our regular compression. Right, and we're in dual mono for this too. Wouldn't surprise me if we hardly see this move at all, and I think that's fine.
Born into a glass house society, home here in this glass house community. See all of my neighbors live just like me, raised here in this pretentious industry, too arrogant to take responsibility.
Okay, so it didn't move at all. Now I want to check this in the final chorus too, where everybody's singing a lot louder, but if it's still not moving, I'm not convinced we need a bunch of compression here. So if this needle still pretty much doesn't move at all, we might just take this compressor out. Yeah, so it twitched a couple of times, but I don't think this compressor is necessary. Okay, let's just take it out of there. And then as far as the this channel EQ, which is mostly mid-range bandpass stuff, we'll take it out of there for now too. We may end up putting one right back on it because we're coming up on the mid-range bandpass listen, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, and then our glass-shattering explosion sound, I'm pretty sure is fine as is. Let's take a listen to it here real fast. I'm good with that as is, so I don't think we need to mess with that. Awesome. Okay, so that brings us to our mid-range bandpass listen. So we are now going to take a listen through the entire song with this EQ right here activated. This EQ is the last thing in the chain, so it's after the limiter. It's going to affect everything. Takes out all of our lows, all of our highs, and leaves us with only the mid-range, so we can get a really good idea of how things are slotting together, or in some cases maybe not slotting together, and helps us get this thing sounding good across as many different systems as possible. So, let's take a listen, see what we hear.
Into a glass house society. Home here in this
I think we will
glass
put that
house
EQ back in there.
community. See all of my neighbors live just like me. Raised here in this pretentious industry. Too arrogant to take responsibility.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering that news, no hiding secrets.
Okay, so there were a couple of issues with that verse right there that we definitely want to check out. The orchestra seemed very loud, and the vocals seemed very quiet. So before we make any changes, I want to turn the bandpass back off and give a quick listen to that verse in full quality, just to make sure that this isn't a volume issue. Are they also, is the orchestra too loud and the vocals too quiet in the full quality?
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering that news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame.
So I'd say the answer in both cases is kinda. Let's turn the orchestra down just a little bit. Let's turn Majenica's vocals up. I think mine were okay, but hers were definitely a little quiet.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering that news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame.
Okay, so kept turning Majennica up throughout that. The thing about the mid-range bandpass is usually it's an EQ thing that you want to change, but you do want to make sure that it's not a volume thing first. So let it be well balanced in the full quality, then check it in the mid-range, and if it seems unbalanced in the mid-range, it's an EQ thing.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors,
Okay, so yes, when we turn the mid-range bandpass back on, it's now much better. I still want to do a little bit of work, I think, on Majenica's vocals in that section, though. We may want to give her a little bit of the mid-range back. It looks like on her actual vocal channel, we've taken quite a bit of actual mid out in addition to the low mids. So let's give her some of that back and see if that also lets her pop through a little better.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true, making sure to feed the rumors, whispering bad news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same.
Okay, we're really close with that, I think. Instead of this little tiny half decibel cut at 550, I think I want to use this node to push up to about 3,000 or so and actually give her a little boost. I want to hear just a little bit more clarity in her vocals. I think we've got her mid-range back, but I want to hear a little bit more clarity.
All these boys who strike, waiting desperate to be angry, one step out of line, watching every word you say.
We made up the line, we made up the rules, and if we change it all, we don't have to explain it to you.
Lies that might be true.
It's actually kind of a high-end thing on my vocal that's annoying.
Whispering bad news, no hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Despising our own fragile home. Hope they don't know it would only take a stone to break us all. Born into a glass house society.
Happy with my rock, destroying others' reputation. See, I'm at the top of a tower only I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left, or looking right there, pointing at me. What a useless mess. Why do we do this?
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on
Nice. Yeah, think we were getting there. Lots more adjustments on this one than we have in the last couple of songs on that mid-range bandpass, but if it's necessary, it's necessary. So started working on some of the piano stuff there at the end where the piano was coming through a little better. I want to check the orchestra level because it still kind of seemed like the orchestra was too loud even in the chorus. So I want to check again in that in full quality just to make sure it's a volume thing and not an EQ thing. We also adjusted a little bit of the EQ in Majenica's background vocals. Since she's singing way high instead of in her mid-range, there was a little bit of a high frequency thing that was a little bit weird. So I want to check again the verse and chorus in full quality, paying special attention to the strings just to make sure if there's something weird going on there that it's a volume thing. Let's check that real fast.
Reputation, see I'm at the top of a tower only I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left, or looking right there, pointing at me. What a useless mess. Why do we do this?
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Break their walls and cast them down. Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Concealed in our own ground. Time is wasted wrong. Saying is hateful judgment. You could set aside sky or stone. Leave it behind and save us all.
Okay, yeah, so seemed like it was a little bit of both. It was definitely like a volume thing almost. It was quiet in full quality, but then depending on the section here in mid-range, sometimes it was fine and sometimes it was a little loud again.
Tower only I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left, or looking right there, pointing at me. What a useless mess. Why do we do this?
Not
Okay, yeah, I think we got that there. Very nice. So let's turn our mid-range bandpass back off, and that will allow us to go ahead and get into volume detail. All right. So now we've got everything sounding at least pretty well as far as slotting together and things sounding the way they're going to sound. So now we want to start paying special attention to the things that are too loud or too quiet, but only in certain sections, so that we can automate the volume to go up and down, or other things, but usually volume, so that we can make sure we hear everything the way we want to hear it. I think the bass drum and the snare drum are fine in all the sections of the song that I can think of. I don't think any of those need to go up and down, so we need to check the drum fills, specifically the toms, but we want to make sure we're not ignoring the snare fills too. Now, do we have any point in the song where floor tom 1 and 2 are hit at the same time? Looks like we potentially do. Yep, right there. So we're going to put a pan envelope on floor tom 1, and the pan envelope is controlling which speaker that tom is coming out of. So anytime Eli hits both the floor toms together, I like to pan floor tom 1 to go into the left speaker so we get a nice wide hit there. Okay, that's fine there. Yep, there they are, hit together again. Not there. Oh, yep, the second hit right here. They're together. Might have got that a little bit. No, that's okay. Oh, and the next time they're hit together too, so we might as well just leave it in the left speaker until that one is done as well. And that's it. Okay. So we can get that. That's definitely really nice. Now, it's hard to tell a difference unless you're listening on a decent set of speakers. If you're just listening on your phone, you probably wouldn't even really notice this difference. But set normally, both you'll hear this tom hit right here, and both of them are in the right speaker. So it kind of feels like this impact is only over there.
Always boys who strike.
Whereas if we do this pan here, so now floor tom 2 remains in the right, but floor tom 1 is now in the left.
Always boys who strike.
Kind of feels like it opens that fill up a little bit more. Again, it's a subtle change. It's not huge. It used to be a little bit more noticeable when I used to pan the toms a lot harder. So the floor tom 2 would almost be entirely on the right. And recently I've been pulling the toms a lot more back in, so that's not quite such a wide spread. But still a neat effect. All right, so let's blow our tom tracks up a little bit so we can see them all. We're going to go ahead and put a volume envelope on all of them, although we may not need all of that. We want to remember our snare fills in this section too. In fact, I may even temporarily just grab the snare fills track and stick it down here with the tom so we can look at it, to help me keep it a little bit more in mind. All right, listening to the song fill by fill, making sure that we can hear all of the toms and snares appropriately. Yep, good with all that. Here's another one.
Always boys who strike.
Tell you what, I could actually go for a little bit more of those 2 floor toms.
Always boys who strike.
Yeah, that felt more appropriate. Now that's the first time those floor toms are hit in the song. So we've introduced a small redundancy that we can fix. There we go.
Watching every word you say.
Okay, I want to hear that again.
Watching every word you say.
Interesting. Okay, so there's just a couple of like little bits in there. This rack tom 1, I want to hear more of, and this rack tom 2, I want to hear a little more of.
Every word you say.
Okay, yep, I think we got it there. Here's another little bit.
Lies that might be true.
Okay.
Lies that might be true.
Okay, both of those are a little, the snare and both toms, I think, are just a little bit quiet there. There we go.
Lies that might be.
Okay, so only part of the snare disappears. Not all of it. Something like this little section right here disappears a little too much.
Lies that might be true.
Now, it's a dynamic fill, so it's not like every single snare hit needs to be really clearly heard, but
Lies that might be true. Making sure to feed the rumors, whispering bad news. No hiding secrets.
Not just one to blame. Reflections are the same. Brain.
okay. And then again, here I could actually use a little bit more of floor tom 2. Let's just go ahead and turn floor tom 2 up, just generally to this 6.5, and see if that's too loud at any point, rather than automating it up like every time it happens. Okay.
society.
Happy with my rock, destroying other.
Okay, I think I want to turn that floor tom 1 up right there. What did we have it at back here? 9.5. Floor tom 2 is nice. I think I want floor tom 1 up there as well.
Society.
Happy with my rock, destroying others' reputation. See, I'm at the top of a tower only I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left,
Okay, so we kind of had the same issue as the first verse with both of those fill.
I can see.
Yeah, like basically the exact same thing. I want to hear this rack tom 1 a little better, and this rack tom 2 a little better.
I can see.
There is no end goal, there is no big prize. Just wanna make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to.
I want to hear both of these toms just a little bit better. And then that little section of snares needs to come up.
Make sure you know I'm better than you.
Pointing to the left, or looking right there, pointing.
Okay.
One to blame. Reflections are the same. Right there.
Okay, yep.
Broken into pieces, just dust on the ground. Concealed in judgments you could set aside. Cycles don't leave it behind and save us
Yeah, so we definitely need this floor tom 1 up. Maybe the floor tom 2 as well. Actually, that seemed like a little too much of floor tom 1. Darn it. Give me the right number. There we go. Still just a little too much. Okay, and there was something back here. I don't quite remember what it was, but there was something. Oh, you know what? I think I was hearing extra hi-hat that was a little bit annoying at the end of this chorus. We'll get that in a second. Brain, remember that. Okay, didn't hear this rack tom 1 very well. That was all for our fills. Get everything put back down. Need to put the snare fills back up where it's supposed to be. Let's get that extra hi-hat there that's in chorus 2. So you already know that it's in the first half. tricky. I can kind of see it up here on the hi-hat mic when it's getting hit. There's a hi-hat hit right here that's okay, but then we have like a section that's a little annoying. We might be able to turn it on and off throughout this. Okay, so if we start here... Oh, I want that to be on... I want it to be on beat. We go up to 167. And again. Well, let me listen here. Yeah, we definitely got some weird... We're going to have to pay special attention to make sure this doesn't sound weird turning on and off in here. So we might just need to turn it on for the whole thing. We'll figure it out. Or let's move this out to where that fill starts. And then again... here up to like 171 maybe. Okay. Yeah. Yep, I think I'm good with that. Awesome. So we tamed a little bit more aggressive hi-hat there. All right, so that now brings us into the drums and bass. So we want to pay special attention to the bass throughout this section. We're going to mute everything except for the drums and bass. That way we can really, really clearly hear what Dad is playing, so that if there's any like cool little extra bits that have been covered by other stuff, we can make sure that we're bringing it out. All right. Full listen through, just drums and bass. Okay, I'm good with all that. Let's jump forward past the vocal intro. definitely lots of little cool bits in there. So I did end up turning up the bass frequencies a little bit. We had a half a decibel low shelf cut in there that I've now just turned off. So there was a couple of times I was hearing the stuff high up pretty nice, and then the low stuff was disappearing a little. And I was worried we were going to have to go in there and turn each individual thing up. But when I went in there and got rid of that low shelf, that seemed to let everything pop out nice. Okay, so I think we're good there. So we're going to mute the bass and now open the rhythm guitars instead and go through the whole thing again where we are listening specifically for any point where James and I are playing something different so that we can make sure that the balance is maintained between our two guitars, or our four guitars in this case since both of us are doubled. Yeah, I'm quite sure already there are points we're going to need to do stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and put track envelopes on both of us. Okay. Interesting. I think there might be parts of my guitar that are phase canceling James's guitar in the intro, and that may be why I have disliked the intro clear since the tracking phase. You know, it mostly is that very first chord. So it's the A and the G both times it happens. I play kind of like a higher version of the chord, and I feel like that is ruining it. So is it the first two measures? Yes, the first two measures. And then again, probably 6 and 7. Yeah. Well, good to know. If I ever go back and relearn the guitar part for this song, I need to remember to just play the regular chords instead of the higher inversions. Well, actually, I think those aren't. The G is an inversion, the A isn't. The A is just a higher octave. So let's take my guitar pretty far down there. Maybe even just out. We're going to need to take James up. So we definitely need to take James's guitar up to combat my guitar dropping out during that section, which is no big deal. I think we may also replace his first A with the A that's over here. I don't really like the way these two guitars hit the very first chord of the song. Let's hear a little more contact. so the volume there is a lot better. So take James up by 3, and that seems to kind of equal out the volume. Okay, oops. Made a redundancy there. And then let's try doing a copy paste on that A chord. So if we just like totally cut the very first chord that James plays on both tracks, grab measure 6 instead, pop it over there because it's the same chord. Do a tiny little crossfade so that we don't hear any sort of like nasty edit pop. We are probably going to have to do that at the very, very beginning as well. We're going to pull it out just a hair and fade it in so that it doesn't just like suddenly appear. That's gone a long way in helping that. I think there's some other stuff we'll need to do too, but that's a big part of it right there for sure. Okay, so let's jump ahead. Okay, so we got a little harmony bit right there. I do feel like my harmony is a little bit louder than James there, so let's fix that. You know what, having his center guitar between the two sets is annoying me. I'm going to move that out of the way for a second. There we go. Now, it seems like we were doing 1 decibel of separation. That seemed to be like our magic number for the other songs, so let's keep doing that, see if that works. Yeah, in fact, that may have been too much even. Let's try 0.5 decibel in this case and just see if that's what that feels like. Yeah, I like that. So 44, 45, and 46 were all in harmony. I think 45 was okay as is, but I want to do the 0.5 decibel of separation again for 45 and 46. So James up 0.5, me down 0.5. That was okay. Okay, so that's interesting right there too. So in that part, the D section right there, both of us are hitting the open D string, but the actual notes that we're fretting, I'm fretting an octave up from where James is. I think it's okay. And there I'm an octave up from him again there, and I think the octave is too loud. There, let's try 1 decibel of separation. I definitely want to hear those low notes better. I think that's good. I'm pretty sure we're not playing the same thing in that. Let me confirm that. So we hear just James for a second. Okay, so if we split the whole thing into 4 sections, we're in unison on sections 1 and 3 and harmony in sections 2 and 4. But I think they mix well as is. That octave again right there. It's still weird, you know, it still hasn't been that long since Paramnesia. It's so funny to hear verse 2. Oh, it's the exact same thing as verse 1. You know, like a normal song. That was not the case even once during Paramnesia. The verse 2 was never the same as verse 1. Literally never. So it's still a little weird. Notice that snare fill stands out more with the bass not there. Yeah, I noticed that same thing too. The real fast one. Yep. Absolutely. So there was another octave. Okay, I think it's okay as is, though. Oh, you know what? I want to hear it with half a decibel separation. It's nitpicky. I'll admit it. Okay, so I suspected that ended in an odd spot, and it definitely does. It ends about halfway through beat 4 there. It's hard to get a hold of. There we go. James up and me down. Yeah. Yep. And we did it again. Okay. So halfway through this beat to halfway through that beat. Or is that too long? Yeah, definitely too long. One measure, not 2 measures. and that whole section's in harmony. So we got the octave thing again. The whole section's not in harmony. Also, this doesn't end halfway through that beat anymore. It actually ends right on here. Luckily, it's at least every other measure, and that section's only that 4 measures long. So let's try a 1 decibel separation on that, just because I'm curious more than anything else. If we take James up 1 and me down 1. Oh, I had it on 7.5 and then it slipped off and now it won't go back. There we go. And then we'll need to do that on measure 167 as well. James up, and me down. Yeah, you know what? I actually am curious if we did a decibel and a half. I like the harmony a lot, but I particularly like what James is doing. So I want to hear it just a little better. I still feel like my ear is being drawn to the harmony. I want it to notice both parts, but be drawn to the main part. Okay, just increasing another half decibel here. Okay, so yeah, I definitely heard the main part that time, but it did feel like the harmony got a little buried. So let's leave it at 1 decibel separation. There it is. We had another little bit there. I kind of want to hear a half decibel separation there. Okay, so is it halfway through beat 4? Yeah, so halfway through beat 4 to the end of that measure. And again, I feel like it was really close to just being okay as is. So let's try half a decibel and see what happens. Okay, yeah, so harmony from this point clear up to 199. And I'll try the half decibel separation, but this one the harmony seemed a little bit louder even, so we may actually need a full decibel separation here. Yeah, let's try the full decibel. Oh, come on. Give me 4. There we go. And then this one needs 7.5. There we go. Okay. I want to hear another half decibel separation there. I think I could be satisfied with that, but I still would like to hear the melody a little bit better. Yeah, I think we will put it back. Always worth trying. All right, so now that we've gotten all the way through it with rhythm guitars, we want to put the bass back in. And give a check to our bass layer, B-A-S-E, bass layer, now with drums, bass, and rhythm guitars in. So we make sure that when we start layering all the rest of the stuff on top, that the bass area is nice and solid. Everything seems good. You can hear all the stuff, all of those changes we just made with the guitar harmonies is good. And maybe we also still want to pay pretty close attention to the bass guitar itself, just to make sure there isn't something that's getting covered that we want to pull out more. Okay, so one more full listen through with those three things in, and then we'll probably close out for today. Definitely feeling better about that intro. Still some work to do, I think, but feeling way better. We'll jump ahead here. That's pretty solid right there. Made a couple more adjustments, mostly EQ stuff to the bass. Just kind of felt like, again, the really low mid area was starting to feel a little bit muddy, but I think we got that cleaned up there to the end. Turned the rhythm guitars up just a hair more, half decibel more, just for a little bit more beef, and I think we're good to go. Okay, so our next steps are going to be turning everything else back on, or at least turning the pianos and the orchestra back on and giving everything a really good check. Again, I want to spend a lot of time on that intro to make sure that the intro doesn't sound wimpy, because that's just what it's felt like to me, is that something was missing, something, and it shouldn't have been based on everything we crammed into there like usual. And I think what we fixed today with the guitars is going to help with that a lot, but definitely got to check that out a little bit further. The rest of the song, I think, is sounding pretty spot on. So looking forward to continue working on this probably tomorrow, same time. We might be able to get in 2 again tomorrow. So some Fridays I'm able to do one kind of in the early afternoon and then one in the late evening. That's the plan at the moment, is to have one probably starting at about a little after 1, and then maybe another short one from like 8 to 9 or so. That's the plan at the moment. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but at least we'll get the afternoon one in. So if you're hanging out here now and you're enjoying what you see, please feel free to come back tomorrow and check it out again. All right, I think that's where we will leave it. We should be good to go with this one. Yeah, I think so. Awesome. All right. Whether you're watching right now, whether you were watching before, whether you're watching this in the future when it's not live, I and everybody in AfterWinter appreciates every second of time you spend checking this stuff out. Yes, Cody says have a good night. You too, man. Absolutely. Yeah, glad you tuned in even though you were at work. Hopefully we cured some work boredom. Yes. We appreciate every second of time you guys spend checking this stuff out, whether you're just hanging out here in the streams or whether you're listening to the music somewhere, some way. We appreciate all of the support that everybody gives us. If you're a new subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. We have been steadily gaining subscribers throughout this entire series, which is amazing. So thank you to all the new subscribers who have subscribed recently. We really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to all the longtime subscribers who have been here for a long time. This support has always meant a ton to us, considering the kind of band that we are and the kind of music that we make. We know we're kind of in a niche of a niche, so again, the support is just usually mind-boggling, at least to me. I can't speak for everybody in the band, but absolutely love to see that other people enjoy this music just as much as we do. So thank you guys all for that. We will catch you in tomorrow's stream, maybe even 2 of them tomorrow. We will see you guys then.